as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Now I want to take a few minutes to describe to you what I plan to do in our meditation this morning. First, I want us to find that still, relaxed place inside. Then I'm going to ask you to visualize a sphere centered between your eyes and slightly higher. And then after you have that sphere in your mind, together we're going to move that sphere into the center of the earth. Then leaving a column of light. Then we will raise that sphere away from the earth to the center of the universe. Again, leaving a column of light. This is a unity broadcasting center that we're creating. It is a way of marketing our beliefs, our energy into the community. We've had a marketing committee to use the tools of the material world to send our message out there. This is a way of spiritually sending our energy and our message into our community and into the world. So now, let us begin anchoring a Unity Broadcasting Center at Unity Church on the Mountain. So join with me now with a breath. As you breathe, begin to relax. Relax the muscles in your body. Maybe there's some tension in your shoulders or somewhere else in your body. Just let it go. Maybe there are some thoughts that come in. That's okay. Just let them go. As you hear the organ, vibrations in the air, let us feel the vibration of spirit. Feel it within. Now reach out. Feel the vibrations from them in your neighborhood, from this community, this family, this church. As we begin to align our vibration with the organ and with one another, start to vibrate as a unit, as one whole. Now from this still center, let us each visualize a sphere. It doesn't matter. Let it be the color it wants to be. Just a ball of light. Vibrate with spirit, calming yourself, calming this community of church. Set an intention of peace in the midst, love, compassion. We are all divine. To slowly lower the ball, lower the sphere toward the center of the earth. And as it descends, a column of light is left behind, a trace raise that sphere directly up, away from the center of the earth, and toward the center of the universe. The all, the oneness that we all share. So now we have a column that extends from the center of the earth through Unity Church to the center of the universe. And now lower that sphere back down to our church within us, to that still space, and begin to see that column growing. It gets wider and wider. You're standing inside the column of light now. And it grows bigger. We're all inside a column of light. Each individual column has joined with the others to form one column of light. Let it continue to expand so that our church, the building that we are in, is inside this column. Set the intention: peace, love, peace in the midst. And now grow that column outwards, even larger. It covers all of Governor's Drive and into the community behind us. In your mind, anchor that column. Let it be permanent. And now, spend some time just enjoying this energy as we share it amongst ourselves in the silence. From that still small space, growing to encompass the entire universe, we give thanks and know that we are broadcasting to our community the energy of peace and love, compassion for the divinity of each of us and each member of our community. It is attractive and brings in all who recognize it. When they feel it, they feel drawn, and they know that the spiritual food they crave is right here in the center of that energy space. As you start to come back to yourselves, leave that intention up. That column of energy, that column of light stays. As you come closer to your physical being, know that any time that you come here, you can call that right back. It's just the barest intention. And I invite you, as you're at home and you sit in your own quiet, that you can call up that Unity Broadcasting Center And it can be there with you no matter where you are. So as you open your eyes, be grateful. Grateful for spirit within your neighbor, and that we are here together. Thank you. Amen. I almost feel that any words I say now will be incomplete. I have such a feeling, and I hope you share it with me. But I did prepare a talk, so I'm going to go ahead and give it. I'm going to title the talk, Which Came First, Humankind or the Law? There's a handout in the bulletin that's got some quotes and some references to things that I'm going to use during the talk. And the first one is a link to a talk that Charles Fillmore gave in 1910, 108 years ago.
Wow.
The title of his talk was, Which Came First, Man or the Law? I changed it a little bit. But what does that remind you of? That little saying you always hear, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And did we ever figure out which came first? You know, give your opinion, that's your opinion. But maybe this one's a little bit easier to solve, because we're saying, which came first, humankind or the law? And you probably have an answer in your head. And I'm going to say this. They're probably both right. But why is that? It's because of language. When we look at the word law, it has different meanings by the context that we're in. Initially, you want to say, no, the law came after humankind because we make laws. But Charles said no. He said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That Word is the same as the Christ within us, the same as the divine order. Mind, idea, expression. And was that not the very first law? But again, if you said that man came first, you would be right. Because Merriam-Webster says in his #1 definition in the dictionary, law is a binding custom or practice of a community, a rule of conduct or an action prescribed or formally recognized as binding or enforced by a controlling authority, which would have to be a man, maybe, probably. So if you thought humankind came first, you were right. You were thinking according to Webster's definition. But here, we're metaphysicians, spiritual seekers of an absolute truth. And so law has a little bit different meaning for us. So I searched for what that could be. Of course, I went to the revealing word. And I found 4 pages. So I'm not going to quote all of those here. You're welcome. But I did pick a couple that I thought really had relevance to the question of this morning. And those are in the handout. Man does not make the law is, and it was established for our benefit before the world was formed. That's Charles Fillmore. He also says, divine law is the orderly working out of the principles of being, or the divine ideals, into expression and manifestation throughout creation. Man, or humankind, by keeping the law of right thought, works in perfect harmony with the divine law and thus paves his way into spiritual consciousness. So, metaphysically speaking, law came first. I want to want to give some examples of some laws. In the bulletin, every Sunday, we have the 5 tenets put down there for us to remember so that we can always have those as a reference and share those with others who might be interested in coming to our church. The first 2, God is good, people are good. Now, are those really laws? I don't know. Probably not. Those are more or less foundation statements. They're self-evident truths. But the third one, thoughts create experiences, I would say is a law. It's in effect, regardless of whether or not we believe it. It's an absolute law. Whatever we think, whatever we hold in our mind is going to manifest. Think about your own observations as you've been going through this life. Have you seen it happen? You've seen your thoughts manifest. You've seen the thoughts of others manifest. Sometimes it's easier to look to the outside and notice it in our neighbor than it is to notice it in ourselves. But we've seen it manifest. If I wake up in the morning and I think how tired I am, I'll be tired probably for the rest of the day. But if I wake up with gratitude for a new day, excited about the events to come, can't wait for what's going to unfold and the adventures that I'm going to have, I'm going to feel energetic. It's my choice. My choice. It's your choice. When you wake up in the morning, it's your choice. Every morning. And you know what? If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you can always change your mind. Start a new day any time of the day. It's your choice. So, bless you. That brings me to another type of law. We talked about absolute laws like mind action, number 3. We talked about the laws from Merriam-Webster, they're made by Congress, made by our local council. Even societal norms are laws. Anyway, lots of examples. Lots of examples. But there's another kind of law. The laws we make for ourselves. Anytime you make a statement like, I am, fill in the blank. It makes a law for yourself. You're making a law. And it's your choice what you put in that blank. You don't have to say, I am tired. You can say, I am grateful for this day. I am grateful for this body that I've been given to live this life. I am grateful that I am a spiritual being having a merely physical existence. And that my spiritual being is going to still go on after my physical body lays down to rest. It's your choice what to put in that blank. You make the law. You ever heard rules are made to be broken? So if you didn't like your law, break it. Make a new one. It is a choice that we have. It's important that we have that choice. That's our freedom. That's our Declaration of Independence. Reverend Carol talked about that last week. We each make our Declaration of Independence. We do not have to be tied to the past. We do not have to be tied to some expectation, whether it's our own expectation or the expectation of someone else. When someone pulls out in traffic, I don't have to be angry or get upset. It's my choice. I have control over how I respond. I don't have control over the fact that they pulled out in front of me, but I do have control over how I respond to it. So what happens when I get angry? When I get resentful of that person for what they did, regardless of what it was, I begin to rob my body of energy. The energy that my body needs for digesting food, for making new cells. And I start putting that energy into some anger or resentment, maybe even fear. It's a natural thing. It's what allows us to survive. It's called fight or flight mode. Whenever we're presented with a stressful situation, we go into fight or flight mode without our control. But we do have a choice in how we respond. Instead of responding with this resentment or resentment or fear, we can respond with a forgiveness. In that moment, we can recognize where it is our minds are headed and forgive. When we forgive, we let go of that. They still pulled out, they still cut us off, but really what does it matter? What does it matter? What does it matter to me? And is my anger really going to solve anything anyway? It's only going to make me hurt myself. There's a saying we used in our forgiveness workshop. By not forgiving someone who's offended us and continuing to hold that grudge, it's like stabbing ourselves in the hand over and over again and expecting that person to feel the pain. They're not going to feel me stabbing my own hand, so why do it? Why do it? Let go. So I want to give some more examples of how we can limit ourselves. These come from my own life, so I'm going to share. I started playing guitar when I was like 13. Got my first guitar. Started taking lessons. And I really wanted to be a rock star. I wanted, I had these visions of myself being on stage and playing my guitar and singing to huge crowds. But I don't know where I heard it. I'm not sure where it came from. But I put a limit on myself. For some reason, I felt like I couldn't sing while I was playing that guitar until I'd been through some huge amounts of practice, that I'd spent the proper time and the proper effort and all this struggle with my instrument. It took me many years before I finally said, wait, it's really not that hard. I've been practicing now, but I really didn't feel like I was doing the bloody-fingered practice, that the books talk about. But I realized it didn't matter. One day, for no reason at all, I just gave up that law, and I sang while I was playing my guitar. It was a huge breakthrough. I surprised myself. I was so excited. I had given up a law that I had made for myself. There was nothing in this universe that said I couldn't sing and play at the same time except for myself. And now I can do it. You see me do it. But whatever it was for.
Yes.
So, but I was, 15 years I spent without being able to do that. And that was my own self-restricted reasons. Okay, so even more recently I had another experience with it. And I didn't realize I was even doing it until I read a book by Thomas Merton called Contemplative Prayer. It was over the holiday. You remember when I went to Pennsylvania for a week? I read his book. It was really amazing. Highly recommend it. So, I've been spending a lot of time in the mornings seeking that silent place that Charles Fillmore talked about, the silence. And it's really not that elusive. It's there. It really is. And I'd come to find it, and I realized that over and over as I got there, that I was having this common vision. When my mind got still, my eyes were seeing something. And it was usually very similar. It was moving, so it wasn't static. But one evening, Lucretia was painting, and I wanted to paint. I'd never painted before. But I had this vision that I was seeing in the silence, and I just, for some reason, wanted to put it down. And so I'm going to share it with you. That's what this is. Again, when I see it, it's not static like it is on this paper. This is more of a snapshot. It moves around, the colors change, colors move within each other. The more I pay attention to it, the more it goes away. So it's the point is, it's not the image. It's the stillness. It's the letting go. So I started talking. After I made the painting, it became part of my ego consciousness now. And I began to share with others, like I'm sharing with you today, that this is what I saw. So I would go sit and I would go try. That's a key word. I would try to go into the stillness. I would try to see this. And the more I tried to see it, the more I couldn't see it. I had an expectation that this is what I would see. It became a law. Thomas Merton called it an idol. This was a graven image of what I was expecting to see. Now, after reading him, I realized what I was doing. And I'm going to tell you, the first time I sat down to go in the silence, after I realized what I was doing, I gave up the expectation of what to see, and I just let go. And you know what? It came back. And if I shifted my attention over to this, it went away. It absolutely did. So I made a law. I let go of the law, and then I saw it come back and forth. So now, I've given this up. I no longer expect to see it. I just let go and see what I see. Since then, I've seen faces in here before. Now, I wish I could remember whose face it was. But I have seen, and it was just so clear. Full of detail, but I don't always remember. So that's an example of the law that I've put upon myself without even realizing that I did it. So, one thing we can really be aware of is our own languaging. Because we have a choice. And if I put a law on myself by saying, I am divine, then that's who I become. I don't want to even say what the alternatives are. There are so many things that we can put in that blank that are not going to help us. Don't even go there. If you find yourself in that position and you just said it, just remember, rules were made to be broken. I break that rule and I make a new one. I make a new rule. It's my choice. Well, I had some more I was going to talk about. And I really wanted to talk about dogma today, and I knew I wasn't going to have time, so that'll have to wait for another one. But that's another law that we put on ourselves. Jesus talked a lot about breaking that law. That's a law we don't have here at Unity. That's a law this congregation will not allow. Even if Unity Central in Kansas says, start to put this dogma out here, we're not buying that dogma. Where's our guide? Our guide is right here in the center of each of us in headquarters. When we go there in prayer, we know. And I don't know how we know. We all know it a little different, so I can't tell you how you're going to know. But you'll know when that message, that guidance is coming from center, or if it's coming from that outside ego consciousness. And the best advice I can give is when you do hear that still small voice coming from the center, heed its call. Heed its call. I want to thank you for giving me your attention this morning. And my prayer is that we take the message that was in what I said, that was ready for you, and leave all the rest behind. Apply it to your life and learn from your experience. I don't want you to believe what I'm telling you. I want you to believe what you find for yourself. I have gratitude for each one of you. I have gratitude for each one of you. And it overjoys me to be asked to speak to you. Thank you.
And we know that won't be the last time. It's the first of many more to come. We're going to go ahead and continue the service. We're going to stand up and sing Magic Penny. It's number 179 in the Red Book. If you want to follow along in the Red Book, 179. We're going to sing it twice.